This is the infamous FX3. It's the camera that everybody has been raving about for the past few years. It's the camera that shot The Creator, it's the camera that was used for Dune, and a bunch of other content that has just been the topic of the town for the past few years. And as great as this camera is, I did make a mistake buying it. Let me explain. Now, when I initially bought this FX3, I'm not gonna lie, I gave into the hype. I thought that by buying this camera, it was gonna make me a better videographer, great cinematographer, it's gonna get me a lot more gigs, it was gonna make my clients happier, it was gonna make me happier, and most of all, I just thought it was just gonna make the quality of my work 100% better. And I'm not gonna beat around the bush. This is a great camera, and it has made a lot of the things that I do better. It has sped up a lot of my workflows, but there are a couple things that I wish I had considered before I had bought this camera and fully committed to it and paid so much money for this camera. I bought this camera back in 2023 because the YouTube hype was real. I know there's a million videos out there on YouTube talking about this camera, but I wanted to tackle it from a different angle and talk about how I bought this camera thinking it was going to make me a better videographer and make me more money. If you want the short answer, it did not make me any more money, but I do think it made me a better videographer. Let me explain. I was looking for a video dedicated camera because as much as I love my A7 IV, the overheating was starting to become a real problem, especially when you go on the warm outdoor shoots. Plus, I wanted a celebration gift for my studio opening, so I figured why not celebrate by just buying the camera and then potentially using it for more client work. I was offered a gig at the time to record a commercial for a realtor company, along with a gig to do a business interview, so there was no way that I was going to bank on my A7 IV to overheat in the middle of one of those shoots. Thanks to the YouTube hype, I immediately bought the FX3 thinking it was going to solve all of my problems, but boy was I wrong. My first mistake, I should have waited until I got the retainer from either jobs before I even made this purchase. My second mistake, I should have lined up some additional gigs before making the purchase in case those fell through, which they obviously did. Third mistake, I gave into the hype and I should have rented it before I bought it because this price tag was steep. I literally could have bought a bunch of other things and did a bunch of other things with the money. Sadly, both clients did flake. All of my existing clients were moving towards vertical content, rethinking their budgets. So now I was stuck with this $3,800 camera that had no bookings to pay for it. To add fuel to the fire, I just signed a lease for my studio as well, and I needed to make sure I can pay the rent and all of the expenses that come with my own business space now. The ironic part was right after I opened the studio, I started getting less video work and more photography work. So I ended up using the overheating A7 IV a lot more than my FX3, and surprisingly, it never overheated. However, not being one to accept defeat, I started using the FX3 a lot more in personal projects. I shot my own music video by myself. I shot a music video for another artist. I constantly use it for YouTube, as you can see, and have even tried using it for social media to much success. I'm going to put it this way. I think that this camera is complete overkill for an average consumer, but if you want to flex with the Dune camera and add to the video essays that are scattered throughout YouTube, this will definitely do it. Now, I know this is going to be a bit out of order, but I figured I'd rather talk about the negatives first and just get those completely out of the way, especially if that's what you're here for. The first thing I want to make completely clear is that if you're looking to be a hybrid shooter, this camera isn't ideal for that. From the video perspective of things, it shoots up to 4K, up to 120 frames per second, but if you're trying to take pictures on it, you should know that you're only about to get 10 megapixels on it. I know a lot of people would argue that 10 megapixels is plenty, but honestly, most cell phones shoot way more than that, and this resolution is not ideal if you or your clients are planning on using the photos for prints such as magazines, albums, posters, billboards, etc. Another downside for me with the FX3 is the flimsy top handle. It's great if you want to record external audio using XLR, TRS, and a 3.5mm audio connection, but the top handle feels very cheap and very flimsy, and I feel like any day now it's going to break on me. I think it's because Sony decided to go with more plastic design, so it feels loose no matter how much I secure it down. It just feels like it never tightens in. Okay, now onto the good stuff. You're going to get crisp, clean 4K video footage. You're getting time code if that's your thing. You're getting multiple audio input options with the top handle, multiple mounting points throughout the camera body, a built-in fan to prevent overheating, a solid body build, amazing autofocus, image stabilization, a base ISO of 800 or 12,800, meaning low light is no longer a problem with the right lens, the endless options of E-mount lenses, dual CF Express Type A cards for better reliability, and most of all, you're getting pure convenience. I mentioned earlier that this camera has made me a better videographer, and it's simply because it encourages me to shoot more and more video. Because it's so portable with an amazing image quality and has endless options for customizations, and best of all, I'm just having a lot of fun doing this. I've been a firm believer that you can't put a price tag on happiness, because if you're happy with what you do and what you own, that's all the motivation you're ever going to need to be inspired to just go make stuff. I know a lot of people are just like, oh my God, Sony just uses the same sensor, so 4K here is the same as 4K there, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that might be true, but I'll say this. I own an A7 IV and an A7 R5, which can shoot 8K, but for some reason, I always reach for the FX3 whenever I need to record video. I think it's because I love the way it feels when I record with it, because it feels so smooth, it's so well built, and it feels professional, but chill when I pick it up. I also love the editing process because the footage is so easy to work with. And the best part is it doesn't kill my editing software with the format. Like I mentioned earlier, if you think this camera or any other camera is going to make you more money or make your work more cinematic, I think that's the wrong approach. I think if you're looking for motivation to see what the possibilities are when it comes to creating with this camera, that's the proper and right direction to go. I've shot more video than I ever did with this camera, and I'm in awe every single time I edit the footage. And best of all, I can be discreet in capturing my moments because it's so small and it's portable. I don't think everyone with this camera is going to make Dune or the creator level content or films right away, obviously. But I think it's going to encourage you to aim that high because now it's actually within reach. In the end, I no longer regret buying this camera because of everything I was able to do with it. And I honestly think it's going to stick around for me even after the FX2 or whatever newer camera comes out to replace it. I think the FX3 is a wonderful camera. I think it's cinematic overkill, and I think it's great if you want a portable, easy, and beautiful solution to capture your video content, whether it's for personal, professional, or you just want to save some space on your memory cards. With that being said, if you've stuck around this long, thank you as always for hanging out and just listen to me talk about technology. Until next time, it's been real, and I'm out. Peace.